Row-level security is a topic that I have briefly touched on in the past, but it's something that I think is worth talking about in detail, as I'm starting to see more and more code being written by AI and not humans these days. How to securely access your data is something just about every app needs to carefully consider. It doesn't matter if you're using Firebase, Supabase, or Convex, you inevitably want to control how your data is accessed and distributed to your users. You don't want user A accessing user B's data, for example, but a mistake like that is all too easy to make if you're not very carefully managing your row-level security rules. So I think having good security guardrails that come out of the box that basically force you into the pit of success when using AI should not be underestimated. But anyways, if you are still with me at this point and don't know what I'm talking about, don't stress, grab yourself a lovely cup of tea, drop me a like and sub, and we're going to dive into the details. All right, so I guess firstly, it's going to be important to discuss what row-level security rules are first, and then we can kind of talk about how it differs in Convex. And just to be super clear up front here, I'm going to be discussing Firebase and Supabase here and how it compares to Convex, but it's not me intentionally dunking on those platforms. They're great for other reasons. I just think that the model that they employ in some of the parts of their feature, where they encourage the database access from the client and thus necessitates row-level security, is a fundamentally risky thing to do, particularly in the age of AI. But anyway, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's go take a look at an example. So let's say we've got this to-do application here. User A has got their set of to-dos and user B has got their own set of to-dos. Pretty basic, pretty easy to understand. Now let's have a look at the code. So with Firebase, we might have a React component that looks something like this. So here we're going to query for to-dos by the currently logged in user, and then we're going to use the onSnapshot function to listen for changes and update the component's local state. But the important thing to note here with this code is this where user ID equals user.uid filter. This is passed from the client to the server. And this is not great because we really can't trust the client not to do malicious things. For example, user A could just come into the JavaScript that's running in the browser, change this to a known user ID for user B, and then they can just read the user B's to-dos. So I guess naturally the question is, how do we prevent user A from accessing user B's to-dos? Well, in Firebase, this is handled with something called Firebase security rules. So these rules are a series of checks that are run before we return any data or write any data to the Firebase database. So for our to-dos collection, we can add something like this. So here we're basically saying is that if you try and access the to-do with this ID, you're going to have to first make sure that it actually belongs to this user. And then the same kind of idea of applying rules applies to the create, update, and deletes via those allow rules. And this is good because now it means that we can perform these critical security, authorization checks on the server rather than trusting the client and have these rules enforced by Firebase. But you will just notice here that these rules are in some language that I don't know what it is. It's certainly not TypeScript. It's some sort of hybrid of JavaScript and something else, which is also distinctly different and kept in a separate place from our actual application code. But let's just put a pin in that. We'll return back to that thought in a minute. Next, let's quickly just take a look at how Supabase does this, because it is conceptually the same sort of thing. So basically, instead of Firebase security rules, you would actually write Postgres row-level security policies, because obviously Supabase runs on top of Postgres. So if we had a to-dos table, we might have a policy that looks something like this. So you see at the top here, we are creating the table, and then down here, we're enabling the RLS, and then we're writing this policy here to allow access to our own to-dos, only if it's equal to the user ID. Then on the front end, we might have something like this in Supabase. So the idea is kind of the same as Firebase. The component loads the current to-dos and subscribes to changes on the to-dos table, which then refreshes whenever something changes. And notice that we aren't actually filtering by user ID anywhere here on the client. We don't actually need to do that because the RLS policy is going to prevent sending any data down to the client that doesn't match your user ID. Again, this is nice because it means that our checks, our authorization checks are being performed on the server, not on the client. And again, with Supabase, we can do the same sort of thing we did with Firebase, where we add this policies for updating and deleting to-dos as well. And again, This is not bad per se, but you will just notice that as with Firebase, our policy logic is now separate from our application logic. And that means you need to get both parts right. You need to get your application logic right and your policies right. And you need to remember to update both if you change one of them or the other. And also, although this is a simple to-dos app and we're able to express our authorization rules and RLS policies here, I would argue that as your application grows and you add more tables and you add more rules, role-based access and blah, 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 I would say that it's going to get harder and harder to be able to express your authorization logic like this. All right, Mike, so we have our checks on the server now. This seems good. Why don't you like it? Well, we've seen time and time again through security incidents that this model is error prone and very easy to make mistakes with. For example, you can just put this into your Firebase security rules, which would basically just totally bypass all of the rules. You might just be rolling your eyes at that, and Firebase's docs do very strongly recommend you don't do this. But this kind of practice can very easily slip in when you're building quickly, or you're tired, or your agent squirted it out and you just didn't look at it too closely. And Firebase is not alone, because with Supabase, it is also very easy to make mistakes. And, there's like edge cases such as like views used to be able to bypass RLS entirely on older versions of Postgres. Or there are other like subtleties in Supabase, around the real-time Postgres subscriptions and like deleting rows and things like that. I won't go into the details here, but they are discussed in the Supabase docs if you want to read about them. Again, none of this means that Supabase or Firebase are bad. It just means that this way of doing authorization just means you have to keep more things in your head and keep it in context while you're developing. All right, so if the issue is that we need row-level security because we're exposing our database on the client, what if we don't expose our database to the client? And this is what we actually used to do, right? We used to have our client call server-side functions, Lambdas or Cloudflare workers or whatever, and then those would then call into the database and then return the data, which would then return back to the client. And in this model, we no longer need row-level security because we can just do those checks inside of the serverless function ourselves. For example, we can say, hey, are you logged in as user A? Therefore, you can't read those to-dos from user B. All right, so now we don't have any row-level security issues. What's the catch? Well, now because we've moved our querying logic from the client to the server, we've unfortunately lost that nice real-time updating characteristics that you get with Firebase and Supabase. I mean, we could potentially add that stuff back in again. We could add WebSockets into the mix and notifications and cache invalidation and all that stuff. But trust me, we are entering a world of complexity and pain here. I've been there. It's a nightmare. Don't try and do this. So then I guess the question naturally becomes, is there a way we can have the real-time data updates on the client and still keep our application code clean and not have to resort to row-level security? Well, you can probably guess where I'm going with this one. In Convex, the only way to access your database is on the server via queries and mutations, which are serverless functions much like AWS Lambda or Cloudflare workers. So in this example query here, we can see that we're going to grab the user's identity from the request, then we're going to pull out the user's ID from that, and then we're just going to call into the database using that user ID. Then on the client, we can use that query like so. And okay, yeah, this looks kind of similar from before, and you might not be very impressed, but the key thing to realize here is that this use query call here is live. It's reactive. So basically, whenever any of the data in this query range here changes, or any of the inputs change, this list of to-dos on the front end is also going to change, and the component is going to re-render. And just to show you what I mean, you've probably seen me do this demo before, but if I pop up in the Convex dashboard and I change one of these values in the to-dos table here, you will see that on the front end, it's going to instantaneously update our app. And from a security perspective, we were kind of all good here because we're limiting our access to our database on the server via the query. The client can't directly access the database, and thus we don't need any row-level security. And user A is prevented from reading user B's to-dos because we're authenticated first. And the super nice thing about having your application logic and your authorization rules in the same language and all kept together, is that we can wrap up this whole get user identity part into a function which we can then reuse throughout our application. So this is nice because it means that as our project grows, we can encapsulate more and more complex rules and whatnot in these TypeScript functions. So for example, we can create a require own to-do function for when we want to create a to-do. And this is going to make sure that the to-do with the given ID belongs to the user before we toggle it or remove it. Again, this is not magic. You still have to write these checks, but having those checks in TypeScript alongside your application code is much nicer. And I personally find it much easier to express the rules, test, refactor, all the extra stuff as opposed to, the Firebase or the row-level security rules from Supabase. Now, just to round this out, if you really, really, really want to do something that looks like row-level security rules on Convex, well, you can also do that if you like. There's this old post from the Convex stack from about 3 years ago that kind of shows this pattern. Basically, the idea is that you can wrap the Convex database with helper functions. So then on every query or mutation, you kind of intercept the database and check to see whether the current user is able to access this row of the database or not. And then when you come to write your Convex queries, you use this query with RLS or mutation with RLS mutations instead of the normal query or mutation. And I guess this could be useful if you've got a big app and you really want a centralized, all reads from this table must pass through this policy layer. But it's important to point out this doesn't fundamentally change how the Convex model. The database is still not directly exposed on the client. This is all server-side TypeScript. We're just moving the authorization check from the inline code, inside of each of the queries and functions to be a more central place. Now, I personally wouldn't do it this way. I think if I felt like my authorization logic was getting spread out and split around the application too much, I would probably just start taking that authorization logic, like I showed before, and turning it into just standalone functions that are put inside a helper file or something. I think this is probably easier to understand and easier to follow as you look through your application code. So the main thing I want you to take away from this video is that Firebase security rules and Supabase RLS policies are not necessarily bad. They exist because if you are going to expose your database on the client, you need a way to be able to securely access that data. That is, you need to prevent user A from accessing user B's data. And it is a valid architecture, but it does mean that you have to keep a set of security rules or policies in sync with your application logic, and you also have to keep them tested as your application grows. And Convex takes a different approach. By forcing you to access all of your data on the server via functions, you can co-locate your authorization logic with your application logic. Now, Supabase and Firebase do have server-side functions as well, so you can do this, but you would lose some of the benefits that you get with Convex, such as the real-time updates and automatic transactions. And for me, to give me reassurance, having good secure guardrails that encourages the piece of success in security gives me much more confidence when I'm vibe coding with AI. All right, well, I think we're just about finished for today, but if you want to find out more about transactions in Convex and how they play into all this, then you should definitely check out this video I did some time ago. But until next time, thanks for watching. Cheerio.